Over the last 30 days, I've made 30 YouTube videos, and some awesome things have happened. Some incredible things have happened, but it was also quite a grind. And so in this video, I want to share the top 25 lessons that I've learned from this 30-day productivity sprint to help you make better YouTube videos faster that grow your business. And I've organized these 25 lessons into 6 categories. We have volume, productivity, views, sales, speaking, and discipline. The very first lesson is about the volume myth. YouTube does not penalize daily uploading and just volume of videos. You can absolutely safely upload 30 videos in 30 days without it impacting your overall channel's view counts. There was some suspicions or a myth going around that if on day 1 you uploaded a video, YouTube would need 48 hours to push that video. And so if you upload a video 24 hours later, video number 2 would be stealing video number 1's views. But I actually found that this didn't happen at all. On the first video that I published, when I published a second video, the first video's views would not only stay at exactly the same trajectory, they would sometimes even be boosted by me posting that second video. So more videos did not divide the amount of views I was getting, they just multiplied my surface area for attention. Lesson number 2 is the volume knob is controllable. Meaning that you can always make more videos. That's something that you can do. And when you make more videos, usually good things will happen. What you can't do, and pretty much no one on the planet can do this, is make every single video guaranteed to massively increase views and massively increase sales, i.e. create a banger video on demand. Even Mr. Beast can't do this. He is not consistently making 1 out of 10 videos for his channel. And even the top channels in the world will ebb and flow in their views, meaning that yeah, they're also getting 10 out of 10s. What I used to try and do was make every video a banger, meaning that it would have to bring in lots of views to my channel and be perfectly constructed so it would bring in lots of sales to my channel. And whilst this would happen in maybe 1 out of every 10 videos or 1 out of every 20 videos, the videos in between were all trying to do that. And so when they didn't do that, they kind of felt like a big failure. Making those kind of big videos is definitely strategy, but it's also some guesswork and quite a lot of luck. And so you can't reliably control it. I can't just say, right, my business needs to grow, I'm just gonna make an absolute banger video that gets loads of views and sales. But what I can do is just turn up the volume knob, meaning that I can go from making maybe 2 videos a month to making a video every single day, or maybe 5 days a week, or maybe 3 times a week. And I know that as long as I hit a certain minimum standard, that is going to be growing my views, my channel, and definitely growing my sales. You can see on this analytics graph here for this year, around March, I hit the jackpot and I made a video that got lots of views. But I couldn't control that. But you can see my view spike over these last 30 days is even greater than that. And that's something I can totally control. And that gives me this massive feeling of reassurance that YouTube is no longer really a luck game. Luck isn't controllable, but the volume knob is. Lesson number 3 is that more volume equals much faster learning. I've made 30 videos and learned from every single one this month, rather than just making 2 and learning from 2. I've learned from a lot of failures and a lot of successes. And my learning just in this 1 month has been massively accelerated, so much to the extent that I see what I've learned in these last 30 days as the launch pad for the future of my channel. And by the way, if you want to get a video planning template called the Anti-Script that's going to help you make videos that bring in views and sales much faster, you can get that for free in the description below. Now we're smoothly transitioning from volume into, but how do you do volume, meaning productivity. The first lesson I learned in the realm of productivity is that uploading creates the ideas. Almost all of the best ideas came to me in the moment whilst I was in the midst of wrestling with 3 videos that had already done well, 4 that hadn't done well, and what's the next thing I want to make. There was this constant feedback loop from my audience, i.e. what was doing well for views and sales, and also what were people commenting about. But there was also a feedback loop within myself, which was the planning and filming itself generated my own new ideas and new concepts, and maybe one point that didn't fit in today's video could make the entire video of tomorrow's. So my output and publishing wasn't consuming all my ideas. Ideas weren't scarce, it was actually creating new ones, meaning that the ideas became even more abundant than before. You do not need 30 ideas to make 30 videos, you need 1 idea that creates the next one. Lesson number 5 is that having different video formats and video styles is absolutely key, especially if you're playing the volume game, but I think in general as well. Otherwise, I would have got burned out from making my high effort typical format and probably pretty bored as well. My audience would have got bored of just seeing the same thing. And so consistency comes from having more than one kind of video to make. So the typical format that I was making when I was making a couple of videos every month was more of a systems and frameworks format. So I'd come up with a new system, a new framework, a new step-by-step process to achieve a certain result that was mostly about speaking on camera and YouTube. But those kind of videos, it's quite mentally taxing. It's coming up with intellectual property. It's coming up with bulletproof frameworks. And it can be really satisfying creative process, but probably not something that you want to try and do every single day. And so I ended up making those videos maybe twice a week or once a week. And in the rest of the videos, I had a bunch of other formats that would completely save me and, very surprisingly, still drive views and sale. And a couple of those were things like one-take videos, where I would come up with an overall epiphany and general concept and film it in one take. Or things like Q&As, where I just ask my email list, hey guys, what are your questions? And then just answer those questions out to camera. Once towards the end of the challenge, I knew I was going to be busy for a couple of days, so I had to make 3 videos in one day. I actually ended up making 4. And 2 of those videos were one-take videos, and 1 of those videos was a Q&A. Because those video formats are so much easier than having to just come up with new information from scratch. Lesson number 6 is the 10% trade. Now, when I first started out doing this challenge, I basically assumed that I was going to be making a lot of much lower quality videos. And what I found was the thing I had to sacrifice wasn't the entire quality of the entire video and just make something that was kind of meh. Instead, I just needed to be willing to sacrifice around 10 to 15% of the quality of the video. Because that last 10% is always the thing that takes the most amount of time. So if you're willing to just sacrifice that quality a little bit, that's barely going to make a difference to the actual quality of your video, but it's going to save you probably twice or 3 times the time. And this links to the next lesson, number 7, which is your standards are invisible. Meaning that if you have a certain vision and a certain standard for what you want a video to be, if you are making a daily video and this vision is too strong, too big, you're probably not going to be able to hit it. But if you get to here, you have to just be willing and completely okay with uploading a video that's this quality. The thing is, you can see your standards, so you know that, it's not as good as it could have been, but your audience doesn't. So your audience just sees this and they're like, this is great. So just know that if you're uploading very frequently, you will constantly be making videos that you wish were a little bit better. But your audience can't compare the vision to your video. They just see what you were brave enough to upload. Number 8 in productivity is just very simple. Timers are crucial. For people like me, maybe people like you. The average time it took to make a video was around 2 to 3 hours. And what that meant was, as I was ideating a video, I would always set a timer, a 30-minute timer. Right, I'm gonna come up with the idea of this video in 30 minutes. And sometimes it would take me 5 minutes. Other times, I'd be right on minute 27 when something would click and I think, okay, cool, I'm making this video today. But it generally did happen within that 30 minutes. Then there'd be another 30 minutes where I would set the timer to plan out the video. And often it would go over, but just because my head was in that zone of I'm doing this in 30 minutes, it got me going and kept me focused. All right, now we are on the category of views. And the first lesson in this category is just to remix what's already performing well on your channel. This isn't something that I discovered. It's been talked about a lot in the YouTube sphere. And I've got one clear success story with this. I made a video a while ago that was quite low effort. And it had one take in the thumbnail, and it was something like how to speak naturally to a camera without a script. And I planned that video pretty quickly, made it in one take, and a year ago, when my channel was pretty small, it still broke out to 20,000 views. And so all I thought was, okay, what were the other benefits of making videos in one take? We don't have to do any editing. You can basically just upload them without any edits or very minimal edits. So I used that benefit, put that into the title, which became Speak Like This to make videos without editing. And then I used a very similar thumbnail, one take as text in the thumbnail, and the video, whatever it is, 2 weeks later, is already matched that old video in views, which is a year old. And I think it's really worth doing this, especially if your channel is a bit older, because you are getting better as a creator. You're getting better at speaking. You're getting better at ideation, concepts, filming, editing. And so by remixing old videos, you can just make better versions of those videos with twists and new angles in the packaging and new information that you've learned since. And that will probably make the video outperform the original. Lesson number 10 is alchemize experiments into authority. Sounds a bit complicated, but what do I mean by that? My 2 highest performing videos from this 30-day challenge were both directly about the 30-day experiment itself. And I think the reason for this was because when you are doing stuff in public, when you are experimenting, doing cool shit that other people want to learn from, and then sharing your lessons, those videos naturally have such an inbuilt credibility into them that people can't help but just latch on and watch them and be excited by them, be inspired by them. So much more than if you just come up with a theory and talk about a theory. And so that same video, Speak Like This to make videos with zero editing, it was also within the context of, hey, I'm making 30 videos in 30 days and I kind of need to be able to do this. I don't want to edit all of my videos, so I'm doing this out of necessity, and holy shit, it's working. The other video was how to make so many videos it forces your business to grow. It speaks for itself. I was talking about the business growth that I had achieved through these 30 days. It was something that I was doing in public, an experiment that I was running, and then reporting back on that. Lesson number 11 is that frameworks are the most powerful, but they're also the most difficult. Remember I said that when I was making videos twice a month, I would almost always make systems and frameworks-based videos. Well, I made a few of them in this 30-day challenge, and they were consistently the videos that performed the best and got the most views. As I said before though, these videos definitely took the most amount of time. When I made one of these videos, that 3 hours usually turned into 5 or 6 hours. And when they then didn't do well, it was really frustrating because it was like this high effort video that then didn't work as well. So a system and a framework video that you sort of go hard on is definitely a format to build some awareness around and say, yeah, cool. And maybe I'm not gonna make every single video one of these videos, but when I do make them, I'm gonna make them as good as I can, work a bit extra hard on the packaging, ideate them a bit better, so they have the best chance of succeeding. And building on this is lesson number 12, which is know the expectations for all of your formats, actually. And so I knew that whenever I made a Q&A video, it would get low views, and it was almost always a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 when I published it. But knowing that actually was pretty freeing. And if I had just been in this mode, as I described before, if I just want to make banger videos 1 out of 10, I would never even make a Q&A. But that doesn't devalidate the value that it has as a format in itself. Those Q&As had very high engagement. And I think doing some kind of Q&A is such a great format to have on a channel in general, because it's you just directly talking to your viewers. One thing I have learned within Q&As, and this is a bonus tip, is try and group the questions. And so that you can, if you have a group of very specific questions about a specific topic, you can then give that video a better title and thumbnail to increase the views that that could potentially get. Whereas if you just answer any of your audience's questions for like 45 minutes, you're just picking one random question as the title, and then your audience is basically sitting through 40 minutes of a complete random smorgasbord of questions that might not be relevant to their specific problem. So in future Q&As, I'm going to do them around theme. So I might do one about getting sales from a YouTube video, another one specifically about speaking, another one maybe about YouTube productivity. But even having said that, I think the Q&As show that a video can still lose the views contest, but still win the relationship with the audience. Lesson number 13 is you're probably going too hard on views and not hard enough on sales. The pattern I see in most channels that I look at is that they will be always trying to get views, and then when I look at their content, I'm like, well, are any of your videos actually designed to get people into your program, or are they all just sort of designed for broad audiences? And halfway through my challenge, I realized that I was succumbing to the same temptation where I was just going for views. And then I realized, oh, I'm not actually making hardly any videos right now that are designed to convert these warm viewers that I'm building into clients. And so that's when I started making case study videos of people who've been through my 30-day challenge that really helped drive those sales. And because of that, I only ended up making 2 of those videos in the entire 30 days. And if I did it again, I'd probably make 4 or 5 of those videos. Which brings us on to the category of sales. Now, sales have been really interesting these last 30 days. Lesson number 14, the warm pool is all that you need. And what I mean by that is this whole 30-day challenge for me has built up this big warm pool of viewers who have all seen a lot of my videos within the last week or 2. And what I've realized is this is the only thing, this warm pool of viewers is the only thing that's actually important if you are in this creator economy game. If you don't have this, like let's say you've made a couple of videos that have really popped off over the last few months, but the actual size of the audience who have seen a lot of your videos very recently is small, you're not going to sell as many programs, and you're not going to have that relevance in a lot of people's minds. So you can even have a channel that has 100,000 subscribers, but if you haven't made that many videos recently, and the videos that you have made recently haven't got that many views, the amount of people who have seen a lot of your videos in the last couple of weeks is going to be very small. Versus if you've just made 30 videos in 30 days and you've brought in new people and you've increased the amount of people who've seen loads of your videos recently from maybe 100 people to a couple thousand people, the pool of your potential buyers and people who are likely to buy your stuff has just gone up so much. It's got so much bigger. But you can't really see that happening from the outside. You know, you might see my channel and think, okay, cool, you're getting 3,000 to 4,000 views per video on average. Sure, what's the big deal? But if that average view count of around 4,000 views is made up of 2,000 people who are watching pretty much every video, that is a huge pool of warm viewers who have seen a lot of your videos very recently. And what I've realized is that this makes everything so much easier. And so this month I brought in $50,000 in sales. And that wasn't with a big launch or launching a cohort or a new program. That was 32K from a low ticket program that I was doing some promotion of this month. And then some of it was from some recurring high ticket clients. And some of it was from this increased amount of people who are just filtering through my digital ecosystem. And a handful of people found an offer doc that I wasn't really promoting right now, paid their deposits and wanted to sign up in August. And so I'm actually running an unexpected group of people in August through a high ticket program that I wasn't even expecting on running. I was just going to wait until September. And I've realized that in the previous months when I didn't have this warm pool of viewers, selling that kind of thing sometimes felt really hard. Like there just wouldn't be that many people that was interested, so I felt like I had to sell hard and it just wasn't like a super nice feeling. But with just a big warm pool of viewers who have seen my stuff recently, stuff just sells. And lesson number 15 is building on from this. I call it the warm pool multiplier. And I think that if you, let's say you 4x the amount of warm viewers that you have right now, I don't believe that that will just 4x your sales. I think it could 8x your sales. And the reason for this is because if you're getting quite a lot of views and quite a lot of engagement from people, people start talking about you and people sense that you're on a roll. People sense that you've got something going. You've got a lot more social proof than normal. And so that creates this kind of snowball effect where you don't just get 4 times from 4 times. You might get 8 or 10 times from 4 times. Lesson number 16 is never waste attention. There was a period of about a week towards the end, sort of middle end of these 30 days, where I was getting a bit lost in the production of these videos. And for some reason, I just forgot to put, it was probably coincided in me making 4 videos in one day, probably around that time, I forgot to put lead magnet promotions into like 5 or 6 or 7 of my videos in a row. Meaning that my email signups were going higher and higher and higher. I was getting to like 100 a day or something, just people signing up, giving me their emails, which is the real growth source of any business. And then it just started to drop and drop and drop and drop. And I was looking, thinking, why my views are going up, my email's going down. Realized for the last 7 videos, I didn't even plug my lead magnets. And having worked with some people who are more beginners in this space, who don't even have lead magnets or very rarely plug them or promote them, it put me in their shoes and made me realize the power of this. It's just something I'd be doing on default every video saying, hey, if you want more information, check out this thing, or I've got this cool free resource for you. That is the fuel of my business. It's getting people's emails. And if you're not doing that, you are wasting so much of the attention that you are working so hard to achieve. Lesson number 17 is that one-take videos are weirdly great for sales and emails. I've had an incredibly surprising amount of sales from my low ticket programs come from videos that I just was in my car and I just pressed record and I started talking, stopped record and then uploaded it. And I think this is because one take videos just without editing, where you're just getting to know your audience and speaking about usually like motivational mindset shift kind of topics, that it just builds a lot of trust. And I think it capitalizes on a lot of those maybe slightly colder viewers who have seen a couple of your more frameworky kind of videos, and then they watch one of those videos where it feels like they're really getting to know you, and they're like, okay, cool, decision's done, I'm gonna work with this person. Okay, now we are in the category of speaking. And lesson number 18 is that analytics are real people. Now this is something that I relearn a lot of the time. You know, we're talking about views here in sales, and I'm talking about numbers the whole time, but this is all real people. Every single view is a real person watching a real video. And there's nothing that reminds me more of this, is that when I see people come into the 30-day Talking to Camera challenge, it kind of feels like, whoa, lots of views, lots of new people coming in, that's great. And that then helps me speak more to those people, right? That then helps retrain my own self to be knowing that there's people on the other side watching, knowing who those kind of people are, knowing what they're struggling with, knowing what they want, and then talking to those people. It makes this whole experience feel more human. Lesson number 19 is very linked to this, which is you never know who's watching. In this 30 days, I've had 3 extremely high profile people in the coaching and business space on social media either comment on my videos, reach out to me privately, or buy my course. Like, these are people who I've been watching for years and learning from. And it's so inspiring and motivating to know that I have no idea which one of those videos resonated with those people. And just to know that it could be a random video of me chatting on the beach or in my car or on my desk here, this video, that somebody of that caliber and somebody who inspires me so much is actually watching that and maybe getting inspired by me. And that's fucking awesome. Lesson number 20 is daily creation equals coherence on command. I would make one take videos a bit less back in the day because I kind of thought that they take a little, I have to be like 100% on, right? Because if I haven't got the edits and the complicated plan and frameworks, I'm just relying on me speaking, I need to be at like my 110%, really be switched on and captivate people. But the amount of one take videos I made in this 30 days, I've realized that I've gotten a lot better having done all those reps. Up until the point where the video I made a couple of days ago, where I was documenting my process of making videos. It was like an hour-long video, and around 40 minutes in, I was like, cool, now it's time to shoot. And I had another camera here of you guys watching me making a video. I wasn't even expecting to make it in one take, and then it just came out in one take. And I was thinking, I could not have done this a couple months ago. This is definitely a new level of this skill that I've now developed. Speaking lesson number 21 is authenticity through volume. And something that I've realized is if you're making videos all the time, any kind of mask or presenter voice and vibe, it gets harder and harder to maintain as you just make more videos. And I guess it would be the same thing, like if somebody was following you around with a camera all day, every day, at some point you would probably just completely be yourself on camera, because after a week of trying to be Mr. Perfect or trying to hold up any kind of image of who you are, that you just get exhausted doing that and you just start being yourself. And I think a similar thing is happening. Okay, the final category is discipline. And it's kind of called discipline / personal / self-development kind of category. And lesson number 22 is self-trust. I talked about this in a recent video where I had a bout of food poisoning, and because I wanted to make 30 videos in 30 days, I still made a video. And I talked about a deeper motivation behind this was, imagine if I commit to these 30 days and then don't do it. And I allow something to get in the way, or I allow shiny object syndrome to get me off track. And the amount that would actually damage the amount I trusted myself. It would damage that confidence I'd have in myself as somebody who I say I'm gonna do something and then I do it. That's almost the most powerful motivation for me. So that was a big reason behind even doing this challenge in the first place. Lesson number 23 is the balance and paradox between good vibes and creativity and dark mode and grind. I definitely lean into this camp much more. My ideal day does not look like blackout curtains and like grinding out on the laptop. My ideal day probably looks like being on the beach with a guitar, having a coffee and just like writing a song in this sort of vibey, creative space where I just am in flow state. Not that that happens that much, that's just like a fantasy that I have of my ideal day. And sometimes YouTube feels like that. Sometimes YouTube feels like, oh, I'm writing my ideas down in this sexy notebook and it feels really analog and creative and vibes, and I feel good whilst doing the whole process. And other times it's like, well, I haven't made a video in a while, so I really don't feel like it, but I'm gonna grind to get myself back in the momentum. And then after doing that for a while, I'm now starting to feel kind of vibey and good and creative and sort of light mode again. And these 30 days, they've just been both. It's been both. Sometimes I've been in dark grind mode and I've been motivating myself almost from a dark place of like, you can fucking do this, build that self-trust, you're choosing your suffering, which I'll get on into in a second. And then other times I've just been like, oh man, it's time to make a video, feeling good, just back from the gym. Oh, everything's feeling so nice and flowy today. The lesson I'm getting at here is that whilst I personally aspire to have it always feeling like that good vibes, creativity, jazz hands kind of place, it's not always like that. And if you just try and make videos in this mood and in this mode, you're gonna be incredibly inconsistent. Lesson number 24 is perspective is everything. Now, whilst this wasn't an intentional thing, throughout this challenge, I happened to be reading this book, which is The Gallic War. And it's Julius Caesar's book. I didn't know this. Julius Caesar wrote a book and you can just read it. It's pretty crazy. Whilst this doesn't have much to do with making YouTube videos, I think it did put me in this headspace where, he's just talking about being a Roman soldier and like seeing all your friends die and killing other people and like starving and just like what life was like 2,000 years ago. And it just sort of put this in perspective, like, come on, bro, you're in a comfortable room making YouTube videos. Like, isn't that hard? So I think that perspective actually somehow helped me out, which was quite cool. Lesson number 25 is choose your hard. Now, I think I heard this lesson from Alex Hormozy a long time ago when I was in Alex Hormozy mode a few years ago, and he was coming up, I was watching loads of his content. I barely watch his stuff anymore, but it's funny because this lesson that I heard him say a few years ago kept repeating itself in my mind when I was through doing this challenge. And I think he puts it as choose your suffering. Now, suffering is an extreme word, but hear me out. It's like I had a choice to choose the way that I would suffer. And I had option one, which was have a business that was kind of ebby and flowy, a bit of a roller coaster, sometimes not have enough people to sell to, sometimes have a YouTube channel that feels like it's kind of dying on the way out, and sometimes have financial stress because you'd have a boom month and then you'd have a few dip months. And I could choose that as my form of suffering, or I could choose making a lot of really good content consistently as my form of suffering. Right? Because that is a form of suffering. Like, inevitably, when you want to do hard, meaningful work on a consistent basis, you're going to have to show up on many days where you really don't feel like it and kind of suffer through the work. It's that dark grind mode that I was talking about. But what that creates is a much more robust business, a big warm pool of viewers who are interested in your stuff and have watched a shitload of your videos recently who are going to buy. Right? So it's now I realize that the volume knob is within my control. It's kind of a choice. Like, do I want to suffer like this or do I want to suffer like this? And it's quite stoic to sort of see life as inherently a process of suffering. And it can sound quite dark, but I think if you do see that as perspective that you can see life through when you need to, then choosing the way that you suffer is an incredibly freeing thing. As I said, if you want that free video planning template that you can use to plan out epic videos that get views and sales with zero script, then that is in the description below. And if you want to see my actual daily 3-hour YouTube workflow condensed into an hour where I've edited it so you can just sit with me for an hour as you watch me make a YouTube video in front of you, then check out this video next.